My name is Caleb King, and this presentation is over the 1936 tornado that impacted Gainesville, Georgia. This tornado is actually believed to be two separate tornadoes that converged on downtown Gainesville on April 6, 1936, resulting in a total of 203 deaths, making this the fifth deadliest tornado in United States history. The exact time of the tornadoes is unknown, but there is a clock in downtown Gainesville that stopped working at 8:28 a.m., making this believed to be the time the tornadoes impacted the community. The Sanborn Fire Insurance Company created a map that details the damage done in downtown Gainesville. On this map, they listed areas that were impacted by fire, light damage, heavy damage, and complete ruins. By looking closely at this map, we can see that the majority of the downtown area was devastated from this tornado. Following the 1936 tornado, Old Joe, the Confederate monument, was one of the few remaining structures left standing in downtown. Old Joe remains standing in downtown Gainesville to this day. The sides of Old Joe have inscriptions on them. One side reads, "Erected by the Longstreet Chapter, Daughters of the Confederacy, dedicated to Southern convictions, consecrated to Southern valor, unveiled June 7, 1909. The other side reads, "To the Defenders of the Confederacy, Patriots, the record of whose fortitude and heroism in the service of their country is the proud heritage of a loyal posterity. Tell ye your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation." The downtown area of Gainesville suffered heavy damage from these tornadoes in 1936. Every building in the downtown area had some type of damage to it, whether it was completely destroyed, had damage from debris, or had caught fire. The effort to rebuild Gainesville took place almost immediately with help from the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Project Administration. By May of that year, the majority of downtown Gainesville had been rebuilt or was in the process of being rebuilt. Today, downtown Gainesville is completely rebuilt. There is no way of knowing that a tornado came through in 1936 that completely destroyed the area unless you knew that background going into it. By looking around the square, you can see numerous businesses. This is a very lively town, a very major city in the northeast area of Georgia. And Gainesville definitely lives up to the reputation. The Cooper Pants Factory was the site where 70 out of the 200 victims from the 1936 tornado were located. Most of these victims were women and young children. Today, on the site of the Cooper Pants Factory, there is an event hall, and there is a marker that has been erected by the Georgia Historical Society in the city of Gainesville that reads, "On April 6, 1936, one of the nation's deadliest tornadoes struck Gainesville. The resulting collapse of the multi-story Cooper Pants Factory building, located on this site since 1893, caused a devastating fire. Flames trapped over half of the factory's 125 employees, primarily young women and girls. As many as 70 of the workers died in the fire, the largest single contributor to over 200 deaths associated with the tornado that day. In addition to the local resources and donations, President Franklin Roosevelt quickly involved New Deal agencies in the city's recovery. Rebuilding of Gainesville focused on providing better paved streets and the construction of a new fire station, courthouse, and city hall, forerunners of modern safety-compliant structures. The tornado and Cooper Pants Factory fire also encouraged the adoption and enforcement of new building codes to minimize the risk of large-scale devastation. One of the buildings that was destroyed in the 1936 tornado was the Gainesville courthouse that stood near the square. This courthouse can be seen from multiple angles and imagery from right after the tornado, showing the complete devastation of the courthouse. The courthouse would be completely demolished and rebuilt. Today, the courthouse is located just off of the downtown square. It is located across the Roosevelt Memorial Garden from the City Hall. President Roosevelt visited Gainesville, Georgia 3 days after the tornado on April 9, 1936, and would give a speech from the back of his train car. In the speech, he would say, "My friends, it is a sad occasion that brings this stop of mine in Gainesville. I have been in touch very closely with the great disaster that has come to your city ever since the tornado. We in the federal government have done everything that is in our power to make things more easy for you. I want to express to you, all of you, my very deep sympathy in the great loss of life that has occurred here, and I particularly want to extend my sympathy to the families who have lost their loved ones. This particular storm, as you know, has affected a number of states and many communities. I have just had a conference in the car with the leaders, the heads of the various agencies who have been trying to be of assistance, and there are two things I think that stand out for which we can be very proud as Americans. The first is that all of the agencies of all kinds have cooperated not only sincerely, but with very practical results. The other thing I want to refer to is the fine spirit that all of you people in Gainesville have shown, the way you have cooperated to bring order out of great chaos, and the way you have determined to rebuild along better and finer lines than ever before. It makes me very proud of you as Americans. And so, my friends, I hope to come back someday at a less tragic time, and when I come back to be able to see a greater and better Gainesville. I shall always be very proud of the spirit you have shown." As a result of President Roosevelt's dedication to helping the city of Gainesville be rebuilt and his efforts by appropriating funds and having people from the Works Project Administration and the Civilian Conservation Corps come to help rebuild Gainesville, there was a day on April 23, 1938, where they had Franklin D. Roosevelt Day, and this was when President Roosevelt came and dedicated a square and dedicated the courthouse in downtown Gainesville. There was a joint resolution that was set forth to have a monument erected in Roosevelt's honor, and this was to show thanks from the people of the city of Gainesville for all of his efforts of not only the federal government, but of him personally in his visits to the city of Gainesville. The monument was to be erected outside of the courthouse and to be positioned between the courthouse and City Hall. Today, you can see the monument standing prominently in between these two. On the front of the monument, it bears an image of Franklin Roosevelt, and it has the dates from when he made his first visit to when the monument was completed. On either side of the monument, there are little markers indicating that it was constructed by the Works Project Administration between 1936 and 1937. Here you can see the monument placed prominently in front of the courthouse. This is an image of City Hall that is directly across Roosevelt Memorial Square. Following the 1936 tornado, there were numerous funerals, one of which was for a boy and a girl that were unknown and unable to be identified at the time. Today, if you visit the Alta Vista Cemetery, you can pay respects to those who passed away. There is a marking in Block 1N, Lot 133, Grave W1. This gravestone was put in place to be able to remember those who lost their lives during the 1936 tornado, and it is specifically for those who were unknown and unable to be identified.